We sat at our usual corner table, the restaurant cloaked in soft shadows, dimly lit and nearly silent except for the faint clink of cutlery and murmurs from distant tables. The waiter had just cleared away our dinner plates when she looked at me, not with anger or sorrow, but with peculiar stillness in her eyes. Her fingers folded gracefully on the table, as though she were about to deliver a business proposal rather than tear our lives apart. "I want a divorce," she said. I didn't flinch. There was no sudden jolt in my chest, no pang of disbelief. I had seen this moment drifting toward us for months, perhaps even years. It had crept into the cracks of our home, in the form of late-night absences and different silences, and a growing coldness that even shared meals couldn't thaw. Love hadn't been murdered. It had simply faded, breath by breath, until the house echoed with its absence. "I saw it coming," I said, my voice steady and low. Her eyes flickered, just for a second, as if she'd expected pleading, maybe a burst of emotion, tears, desperation, at the very least, a question. But I gave her none of that. I reached calmly into my wallet, peeled out a few bills, and laid them neatly on the table to cover the check. Then I stood. "Get up," I told her. "I have something to show you." She stared, hesitant. "What is it?" "You'll see." There was a hesitation in her movements, but curiosity outweighed caution. She picked up her purse and followed me outside into the crisp night air. The wind carried the scent of rain that hadn't yet fallen. The city felt distant, hushed, as though it knew something monumental had just shifted. I opened the passenger door for her, and she slid in. The drive was silent. She glanced at me from time to time, but I kept my gaze fixed on the road ahead, my hands firm on the wheel. Her earlier composure had begun to fracture, giving way to a subtle unease that thickened with each mile. 15 minutes later, we pulled into a small, unassuming parking lot. A lonely building stood before us, modest and windowless, with a sign above the entrance that read, "Lock and Key Storage." She looked at it, confused. "Why are we here?" I didn't answer. I stepped out, typed the code into the gate, and motioned for her to follow me. We walked down a quiet aisle lined with identical metal doors. Our footsteps echoed in the stillness. I stopped at Unit 117, retrieved a key from my pocket, and turned the lock. The door creaked open. A single bulb dangled from the ceiling, bathing the space in a warm, dusty glow. Inside were boxes stacked neatly, a few pieces of old furniture, and a large gray safe pushed against the back wall. She stepped forward, scanning the contents. "What is all this?" "This," I said, "is what I've been building quietly while you were dismantling our marriage." She turned to look at me, eyes wide now, her breath catching. I moved to the safe, spun the combination dial, and pulled open the heavy door. Inside were organized stacks of documents, photographs, and several hard drives. Without a word, I handed her a folder. She took it with trembling fingers and opened it. Pages rustled as she flipped through bank statements, flight receipts, screenshots of private conversations, and financial transfers to an account she thought I'd never find. Her complexion drained to pale ivory as realization struck. "I know about Ryan," I said quietly. "The dinners, the weekends, the lies, the money you siphoned into that hidden account." Her lips parted, but nothing emerged. The guilt was already painting itself across her face. "I didn't confront you right away," I continued, my voice like gravel smoothed over with resolve. "I waited. I needed to be sure." She took a step back, shaking her head in disbelief. "You were spying on me." "No," I replied. "I was protecting myself. After everything we built, years of shared dreams, sacrifice, promises, you tried to strip it all away behind my back, while still smiling at me across the breakfast table." "I wasn't going to," she started, but I cut her off. "You already did." She slumped into a worn chair in the corner of the unit, the weight of it all pressing down at once. Her face was drawn, her hands clenched in her lap. "So what now?" she asked, voice brittle. "Now," I said, pulling out a second folder, "you get the divorce you asked for, but not on your terms." She looked at the folder, thicker than the last, and hesitated. I handed it to her. "This contains a revised agreement, one that protects what's mine. You'll walk away with what's fair. Nothing more. No tricks. No hidden accounts. No illusions. You can't do this, she whispered, almost as if trying to convince herself. I can, I said, and I will. You see, I gave everything to this marriage. My time, my loyalty, my heart. You gave yours to someone else. I could have humiliated you publicly, taken this to court, shown your parents, your boss, your friends. But I didn't. She blinked up at me, startled. Because I'm not like you, I added, this isn't about revenge. It's about release, about closure. You wanted freedom? You've got it. She stared at the concrete floor, shoulders slumped, defeated. I loved you once. I said, quieter now, but love doesn't survive betrayal. Without another word, I closed the safe, switched off the light, and locked the storage unit. We walked side by side back to the car in silence. The ride home was long, heavy with unspoken grief and shattered trust. She didn't look at me. I didn't look at her. When we pulled into the driveway, she got out, entered the house without a word, and disappeared into the shadows of what used to be our shared life. I remained in the car for a long moment, watching the doorway she vanished through, the same one we'd once walked through hand in hand, laughing, dreaming, building a life. The next morning, she signed the papers without protest. No final words. No drama. A week later, she packed her things and moved out of the house we once called home. I never spoke to her again. And the truth is, I didn't need to. Some endings don't come with fire or fury. They come with quiet resolve. With doors closing behind you in the air, at last, beginning to feel breathable again,